Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and in this video, I am joined by James, the comic book savant himself, podcaster, YouTuber, Renaissance man, for a conversation with a focus on collecting. Specifically, is the collection ever complete? When is the collection complete? When is enough enough? So, James, thank you for joining me for this conversation. I am super excited to dig into this one.
Thank you for having me, as always. This is a very interesting topic that, as collectors, I think we all come into contact with it at some point. We're always chasing, and it's like, when do you say enough is enough? Or I think my collection is perfect. Or do you ever get to that point? Those are...
Yeah, I know for myself, it's a constant struggle because I am a physical media collector primarily. I know you're more focused on the digital aspect, but it's interesting because maybe we can kind of compare our experiences because with a physical media collection, there's only so much room, and that is always something you're butting up against. But with the digital collection, there are limitations to that as well. Do you have any limitations that you find with your digital collecting?
All the time, because with me, with comics, my movies, television shows, you can run out of storage, and you're constantly buying more storage. Because that's why I primarily purchase stuff through iTunes, so I can download, backing up my media. But it is still limitations with that because right now, iTunes don't let you download 4K. So you get HD copies, but you don't get full 4K. You have to watch them through the device and stream it in order to get the 4K quality. But still with that, I know in the 8 or 9 years I've been primarily digital, I've gone through 5 different hard drives or whatever. Yeah. And you're
collecting not only the digital copies, but you're collecting hard drives as well. You gotta stick them somewhere.
Yeah, and I actually, some of my hard drives just broke down. So
oh really?
Well, it was actually my fault. I was rearranging and redoing my office, and I tried something very stupid on command stripping them underneath the desk so they would be out of the way, and that wasn't good. Don't do that, people at home. Don't do that.
Well, it's just crazy because that's proof. There's limitations for every format. Anything you do, even if you're in the cloud. That cloud has a limitation. You're gonna have to buy more storage.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So it's something that we talk about. You and I talk about this from time to time. But as a collector, you're just like, at what point is this complete? When do I step back? When do I dial back? And people message us, and like me specifically on YouTube, I get comments, and they're like, "Why are you going to look for more things? Have you watched the thing? You can't watch all these movies that you have behind you." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I do, but." Let's be honest. Let's be real. If I watched 2 movies a day, it would take me years to rewatch everything back here. So I'm aware of it, but there's a couple of directions we could go here. First, we could talk about the collector OCD, that collector gene in general that some people seem to have.
It's real.
It is real, and more and more younger generations don't seem to have that, but some of them do. But I think a lot of the younger generations have really been able to let go of some of that. They just don't have it. But our generation, especially, and the generation above us, the collector gene is a very real thing, and you want to pursue these things. There's a fear of things going away or fear of not having. I know for me, I just want access. More than anything else. And then, if I get really psychological with it, I think that maybe having access to the stuff that I love, you're the comic book savant, superhero movies, all the comic books that you've got backed up and everything. For me, that's kind of a luxury. It's kind of like, this is some level of success. I have access to this. Like, I don't have to worry about this. This is something that, in a weird way, it's like a luxury. It's like security. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Totally. And I think that's what it was for me. Like, even when I had my physical collection, I had bookshelves upon bookshelves in my spare bedroom and / office in my apartment at the time, and I had trade paperbacks, loose comics, omnibuses, essentials at the time. I had so many comics, and I just liked the fact that I always, as a kid, I always volunteered and worked in libraries, and I loved the fact that I could just go on my bookshelf at any given point in time and have something new and different that I hadn't read. That if whenever the mood hit me, I always had something on stock on my shelf that I could just pull, just like in a library, and sit and read. And then I could put it back on the shelf. It looked pretty, and then I had the next thing, and just that, like you said, that accessibility.
It's got to look pretty. Yeah,
and it got to look pretty. You got to have it organized to have it look pretty, and I always love that, and that's the one part of that I miss. But I just had between movies, video games, comics. I had TV shows. I just had so much stuff, and it was just I really. I wasn't like in a home situation where I could have dedicated spaces to keep doing it. And it was always very hard because I was living in apartments when I moved. It was very, have you ever had like 20 some omnibuses that you had to move and oversized hardcovers, hundreds. It was a pain. And I moved.
Dude. Yeah.
3 times in a year once, and my friends was like, "We're not helping you move no more. We're like, you're on your own, buddy. Like, this is too much."
When I moved into where we're at now, it was years ago, and the collection was nowhere near what it is now. But the comics themselves, I had like 12 long boxes, I think it was, and that doesn't sound. I mean, some people think it does sound like a lot, but 12 long boxes. It was so much work, and like up 2 flights of stairs to this apartment that I was staying at. And the guy that was helping me, like, I was so frustrated with the whole experience. I was like, you know what, man? You want these comics? You want to just take these comics? He was like, no, man, I can't let you do that. We got to move these comics. It'll be okay. I was just so frustrated with the experience. That was just the comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ran into the same thing. And like I said, it was like 3 times in just over like maybe 13 or 14 months. I moved 3 different times, and the areas were very varied, and it was a trek, and it was just so much. And so later when I really start paring back, I was like, I just have to do something because it's too much. And I think I started picking up digital with movies more so than comics. I had dabbled with comics, and then I just slowly start migrating over. I think it started with movies to then video games, buying digitally. The last thing, because I was still holding on to my comics, were the comics. But then eventually, because it still just took up so much physical space, where it was like I had to shift. But yeah, you're always searching. And even now, I say, when is enough is enough. But again, it's still, like you said, that accessibility factor of, I know I can cut on my Apple TV or whatever and scroll through, and I can see all my movies at any given point in time and just click a button and could watch it. Or if company's over, I could be like, hey, go into the my movie collection, let's pick something. I got plenty. Like, it's like, go pick what you want. So I do like that. Like you said, it's that accessibility aspect of it. And then always having something new or different that I haven't watched yet, that I'd be like, I forgot I had that. Let me watch that. I have some time to kill today. Let me watch or enjoy that. Yeah. I think that's a big part of the mentality, the accessibility of it all.
I come into this room almost every single day, even when I'm not shooting in here or doing something in here. I come in here. Maybe I'm brushing my teeth for whatever. I come in here at least once a day most of the time, and I just look at the shelves. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I need to find time to revisit that one. So the other side of it, yes, there's the collector's gene, but then there's also the genuine utility of ownership, of having these things on your hard drive or having them on the shelf or something like that. So I was talking recently with Stephen Lackey, the director of Family of Fear, the documentary about the haunted attraction in northern Alabama. We did a video review of that. I was talking with that director, and he was lamenting the Alias, the show Alias with Jennifer Garner. It's not streaming anywhere. As we make this video, it's not streaming. It might be on iTunes to buy, but that's not. I think
it is, but yeah.
But we're talking about renting, or streaming.
Right.
It's not streaming anywhere, and he wanted to watch it. People don't necessarily want to just buy, a $20 season of something digitally.
Right.
I have those seasons on DVD, and I bought them, I've bought them over the years, and I see them all the time. Like, I saw someone donated like their entire series of Alias to a thrift store recently, and the thrift store was selling them for like $3. And I was like, if I did not have these, I would be a fool to pass up on this, because here it is, and I have it forever until those DVDs, degrade or whatever happens to them. So there is that utility side of it as well. Like, there is that collector's mentality, but that collector's mentality is built on a real need and a real purpose. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like it's, you know, and you do run into that, and that's where, like, even for me, as I've watched you, and you've so passionate about that the preservation of these things, you know, it makes me think about things. It makes me pick up more things, or like even search certain, you know, things out, because I love that show. And, you know, I looked for it years ago and was like, why is it not, it's weird. Why is it not streaming anywhere?
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was a groundbreaking show at the time, you know, but you can't find it unless you do buy it. And yeah, like you said, no, sometimes people don't have $20 to buy a season, or, you know, get a box set that might be 50 to maybe $100 of the whole series, you know.
Yeah.
So like you turning me on to things like what is it, Shout Factory, and those different companies that will get those and put out those sets, you know, make it very attractive, like for those shows, because not everything, like you said, will translate over to digital or streaming per se. So some certain times you have to grab them where you can grab them. We talked about months ago when you did the reviews of the box set of like the She-Ra, the original, and the He-Man, and with Voltron as well. Like those for years you could not find the whole series. You could find certain seasons, and because they were so rare, they were really, in any medium, they were very expensive. Yes. They got re-released in physical form, and then they put out digital releases that then made it affordable to get those whole shows that from our childhood that I haven't seen since I was a child. That, you know, that it's like now I can go back and watch and enjoy that stuff, you know. Yeah. So it's definitely we need on all levels, digital, physical. Sometimes physical allows for digital and streaming to be available once they're re-released, because now the studios are taking it all more seriously, and they understand all the channels and try to cover them all. I could definitely say studios are doing better, and you're seeing older movies, you know, because I'm on the mailing list for like Warner Brothers and all the different studios for all the, you know, movies that I get. And you see that they're going in at the Warner Brothers archive and things like that. I get emails all the time, like for Valentine's Day, they had a whole bunch of old, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s movies that they were now making available from the vault that you can get in multiple different formats. And I thought that was, I think the great thing about your show and what you do is that it raises awareness. I am not just a comic book fan, I'm a movie fan, I'm a television fan. I love all media. And
pop culture. You love
pop culture in general, and you made me more aware of the preservation of these things, because certain things, like you said, can fall through the cracks. So we need to be out there as collectors, no matter what side you fall on, to preserve certain things that will fall through the cracks, like an Alias, you know, like the Masters of the Universe and things like that. And we got to go out and support. One thing you always stress that I do 100% agree with is that we have to go out and not just talk it. You have to go out and spend your money to support, you know, to make sure that the companies know it's going to be worthwhile for them as well, to, if we take the time to do these conversions, make up these box sets, and, you know, that people are going to go buy them.
You got to support it. You got to put the money there, or they're not going to. If you don't support it, you can't complain about
when it goes away.
Exactly. And that's that's the preservation aspect is the biggest factor for me. That's why I have this collection, because so much of this is not digital. Even if it was, I'm just a physical media guy. I like digital too. I've been doing more and more. We have an episode, a Spinner Rack Bros episode hitting the your podcast feed about, basically I'm talking about digital comics in that. But the what's kind of scary to me is because as things have gotten more and more digital, and as the mainstream audience has moved to digital, stuff is just disappearing. And people rely on streaming services. Now you're not relying on streaming services. This is not a physical versus digital debate. No. We've talked about this before. You buy movies, you download your movies. You're not like, well, I'll just see if it's on Netflix. And if it's not on Netflix, you're not like, well, I guess I'll never see that again. Like, you look for what you want to see.
Right. Yeah. And I'm a cord cutter 100%, like across the board. So, you know, I have a lot of streaming services, but mainly my wife is more a streamer than I am, because because you know, I tell you what I use streaming as a kind of go between. So I will for like television shows maybe that I miss, because I don't watch a lot of live TV. or I'll go through the the movie apps, whatever channels I have, like HBO. I'll go every now and again. I'll go on to HBO Now. Occasionally going to Netflix. I'm not a huge streamer. I guess Disney Plus has been the one streaming service in DC Universe, or the two I probably personally use the most out of all the different ones we have in our household.
Yeah.
But I just prefer buying them, and then I can go onto my TV, watch them, and enjoy them in that way. So it's like, yeah, I'm still hardcore of like just owning the property, even though most of like all the Disney movies, like I told you, I'm through a video of yours a couple years ago, the Disney Movie Club. I buy and even though I have Disney Plus, and pretty much now at this point, or coming up soon, like all the Marvel movies and all the Star Wars movies are be over there. I still own them all because I want to have them. And I was like, when I travel, even though they make all those things accessibility, it's just like a mental thing for me that I own it. It's mine for however long I have it, and and I could take it wherever with me, or if it's bad weather, because I have it, backed up, as long as I have power, I can still access those movies. I can still watch them from my computer. But if the internet goes out, I'm not like, oh, I can't watch them. I'm like, as long as I have, computer and or somewhere I can plug up the hard drive to, I'm good. And and so I do like still having that tangible, semi-tangible ownership.
It's a good point about Disney too, because I feel like they will be the first studio to just take their stuff away physically, and they'll be like, it's only digital now. And I don't think that day is tomorrow, but I just did Collecting at Midnight episode 9. I do this on Patreon now, that series. For those who are watching, hey, it's a plug for Patreon. Yes, I'm shilling for Patreon. But yes, the Collecting at Midnight series has moved to Patreon. And in the most recent episode, I was kind of talking about, I picked up The Great Mouse Detective on Blu-ray. It was $5.99. And I was like, okay, that's the last time I'm buying The Great Mouse Detective. I now have that movie forever. And I can see Disney, like, I don't think that's going to get a 4K release down the line. It may. I'll be surprised if it does, but I don't think it will. But what I can see happening is when the stock of The Great Mouse Detective is gone, they don't repress it, and then they're like, guess what, guys? The Great Mouse Detective is streaming in 4K on Disney Plus, and that will be the new model. And as these things, I think they're tapping that physical market while it exists, with the Disney Movie Club, stuff like that. I think they're getting the money that they can, because they're about money. Everyone's about money. Every studio, every corporation is driven by money. But I think Disney will be one of the first ones to say, okay, that's gone now. And if you want to continue to support it, if you want it, here's where it is. It's at Disney Plus. So there is a market. There is a need for those who want this stuff, for those who want it on their shelves. Not everybody does, and that's okay.
Right. I'm surprised that they've gone back and did so many 4K releases. Like they've just announced the whole Skywalker saga being in when the last movie comes out, a box set's coming out the same day with all of the saga movies, and then they're re-releasing all of them individually as well as 4K. They've done an initiative recently in the past like 2 years where they're re-released all of the Pixar movies. They're finishing up because they just made another announcement not too long ago where they are been doing all the Pixar movies re-released in 4K. And when they do the vault things and stuff now, they're pushing that as being part of the movie club. And I only pick like the Blu-ray 4K digital. I normally get that 3-pack or whatever to get the digital code, because with those movies now they always include them. It's hit or miss with the other formats. And I thought that was interesting that they're doing so many that I thought maybe they would be hesitant on, but they see that they're like, I feel like you said they're going where the profitability is right now, 4K or whatever is hot, so they're doing that. But we do know like 8K and all this other crazy technology is there on the verges, but they're committing more than I thought they would to the 4K, because I feel like I guess it's still, even though 4K's been around for a while and we know 8K and all that other stuff is coming down the pike.
Can I address that? I mean, I want to talk about 8K before we get too far from it. You can go ahead, but I pin in 8K.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that it seems like they're doubling down, and I'm surprised the amount of content they've put out thus far, and for 4K, because I thought maybe after the Blu-ray situation, maybe like would they do it, but I guess people are buying them. But I have heard things and read things where it's not nearly in the magnitude as it was with DVD and Blu-ray on the amount of the press amounts and runs that they're doing, because
it's very small. It's very
Right, they're
niche.
not, and even on that, they're not getting the amount of returns they did for DVDs and even
Yeah.
Blu-rays. It's like starting to be an act of diminishing returns, I guess, as it goes.
Yeah. That's true. Here's some statistics that I have learned recently. Out of every, how do I want to say this? Only 1 in every 10 DVD releases has made it to Blu-ray.
Wow.
And so that means 90% of what's on DVD has not translated to Blu-ray. Now that's going to be a lot of stuff that's weird, hunting videos and like fishing instruction stuff. That's going to be all your weird stuff out there too. So we have to include that. But that is still a staggering number. But then you think about the Blu-ray audience to a 4K audience, and 4K is still a much, much, much smaller audience. I think there's about 26,000 Blu-ray titles that have been released since the beginning of the format in the late aughts or so. Mm-hmm. You look at what's come out in 4K. I mean, it's a drop in a bucket. And the idea that people who are waiting for 4K, like I don't think I'd hold my breath on 8K. Let's talk about 8K, because every time this conversation comes up, we get at least 2 comments from people who are like, 8K is coming. But here's the thing. Here's the facts. Most movies are mastered in 2K. Most special effects movies are mastered in 2K. There are masters that are 4K, but they're rare. They're the minority. And so I'd like to support them. They look beautiful, but the idea that we're going to have 8K movies, I don't think that's ever going to be a consumer format. I think 8K is going to be more geared to like sports events. Like you'll see, you'll watch the Super Bowl in 8K on your 8K TV, and that's years down the line. That's not right now. I don't think we're going to be buying The Great Mouse Detective in 8K. That's a good example. So
yeah,
I just wanted to say that it's not really right on our topic, but it is kind of in there because I know there are people who are holding off on the releases of today because they think 8K is coming, and I wouldn't do that. I would say if you want it, get it.
Yeah, I totally agree with anything. I feel like if it's something that you really want or you think you're going to enjoy, and like get it while you can, because you just never know. You never want to be that person and be like, I should have got it then. I think I'm learning that more and more now when that opportunity presents yourself, where you see a great deal, like you said, you saw The Great Mouse Detective for $5.99 and was like, I can't pass that up. Let me get it, and this will be the last copy I probably will be able to get of this,
right. Yeah.
Film. Yeah, you just have to go for it and enjoy it, and you can always deal with the future in the future. That's why it's the future. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you can cross that bridge when it comes, because you never know if that opportunity will be there or not. So take advantage of the now.
And not even okay. So I should also say this. One of our most successful videos, I did a video called 5 Tips for Collecting Physical Media, and one of my rules is like patience. Just be patient. So I don't want to contradict myself, because I think you should be patient. I think you should be a smart buyer. But this is a buyer's market. This is, like, as you know, movies have never been cheaper, both physically, well, not just movies, but the comic books too. You look at Comixology, 89-cent single issues, and like $2.99. We get them for less than that. We get them for like $268 or something like that.
$268, $269, yeah.
Something like that. It's a buyer's market, man. So also, without getting super morbid, that's just if you live tomorrow, like you might get hit by a bus, you might get in a car accident. Tomorrow is never a promise. So live for today. I mean, don't live like a crazy person, but embrace today. Embrace today.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think that's the the other side. Like, you do things within reason. Like, I kind of spec out things that I want to buy. Like, how much do I want to spend, or this new series is out, I really want it because I hear a lot of buzz about it, but if I wait a little while, I know a sale will come up and I can save money and get more. So you do it, like you said, within reason, and make your buck stretch in certain situations. But that anticipation of something that hasn't come yet, factor that out more so, if you're gonna watch it, if you're gonna if you really want to see it, then base it in your buying decisions more off of that, not on something you think that's going to happen, speculating for future moves, because the industry, the markets can shift. People's buying preferences can shift. So be patient within reason, but don't over anticipate on future events that you have no control over, as how the market might shift, because, it can go on it could be a whole nother format. That's not 8K. That's a more like, a side move, not a forward move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just never, because like how we had that that 3D, which wasn't necessarily a forward move. It was a unilateral kind of, move. So it's like, you just never know. So you can't anticipate those things. So do it based on more on your personal choices and preferences than industry forecasting, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's a great place to end this one right now. I don't think there's an answer to this. When is a collection complete? Probably never, but you have to be smart about your collecting, and you have to find a balance within your collection.
Totally. And like I said, this is just starting the conversation, and hopefully we gave you guys really good things to look at, to think about, and go down in the comments and discuss. Like, we can continue the discussion. This was just some talking points that we wanted to have and throw out there. Some of these things you might haven't thought about yourself, and we brought them to light. So hopefully we can continue and have a really good discussion down below.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's continue the conversation in the comments below. James, tell everybody where they can find Comic Book Savants.
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. You can find everything else I do over at comicbooksavant.com, and on social medias, just at Comic Book Savant.
And I'm over there too. We got plenty of episodes with you and me talking comics, talking movies, talking all kinds of stuff on your podcast.
Yeah, and we just had a recent episode come out, so you could definitely go over to the website. You can check it out. Fun stuff. Like I said, we do episodes there, and we do the videos, of course, here. So definitely, if you have time, check it out.
Awesome. James, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I think this is very relevant. I think this invites a lot of continued discussion. So thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And guys, thank you for watching. As we said, continue the conversation. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you. So take care. And until next time, we will catch you later.